Yeah, so I'll just wait a couple of minutes to see if anybody else is going to join, and then we'll start. So while you're waiting, can you let me know through the chat if you have already done an IELTS before? I can see lots of yeses and sures. That's good. Okay, I'll just admit a couple more people, and then we will start. Oh, a couple of people saying no. Good. So hopefully you will learn something useful today. Okay, we have 42 people. So let's start. And I will keep adding people as they come along. If you could keep yourselves muted, and then we won't have feedback, that would be great. So my name is Natasha, and I am a teaching fellow at Nazarbayev University, and I teach in the CPS department for foundations year. I have been an IELTS examiner for 15 years, so I have quite a lot of experience on this subject. So hopefully I can give you some tips on that will help you for your listening and speaking today. Now, somebody asked me, what is your band score? Well, I'm an examiner, so my band score was 9, but that was a very long time ago. So being an examiner for so long, I didn't do the exam since 15, 16 years ago when I first did the training. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can start our presentation. And I will need to have the chat open at some points, which everybody will be able to see, because I'm going to ask you to send me some information as we go along. So as you can see, today we're going to be looking at the speaking and listening parts of an IELTS test. First, we'll look at speaking, and then we will have a look at listening. We have about 30 minutes, so not a huge amount of time. But if we have time at the end, I will answer any questions if you have any. So first of all, speaking. So I want to know, the first thing that you should do, obviously, is prepare very carefully for your IELTS exam. And one of the important things to do is to know the structure of what the exam will be. So can you go back to the chat box, please? And I want you to answer any of these questions. So how long is the speaking exam? How long does it take? How many parts are there in the exam? What are the 4 criteria that you will be graded on? And which of these 4 is more important? So these are the 4 questions. I would like you to put some answers in your chat. (10 to 15 minutes), okay, 3 parts, all right. Now, somebody was asking if they can record this. This is actually being recorded, and I will show you the website where it will be at the end, okay? Let's see if we have any fluency in grammar. Yes, vocab, okay. Exam is 4 hours, speaking 4 parts. Okay. Cohesion, coherence, aha. Aldia, you have definitely done this before. Pronunciation, yes. All right, so let's have a look at some answers. I'll close the chat box. How long is the speaking exam? Well, most of you had around about the correct answer. It's 11 to 14 minutes. So 11 minutes is the shortest it should be, and 14 minutes is the maximum that it should take. It will depend on whether you use the whole minute for thinking about your part 2 answer, and how much information you give to the examiner. How many parts are there? Well, we had, I think the answers were 2, 3, and 4. The answer is, of course, 3 parts. Excuse me. So you have the first part, which is basically like an introduction. It's common subjects that they will ask you easy questions about, so that you can make yourself feel a bit more comfortable before you get into the more difficult parts of the exam. And then, of course, you have part 2. Part 2 is where you will be taking the long turn, your 2 minutes of speaking on a subject that the examiner gives you. And then part 3 is the final section, which relates back to the topic you spoke about in part 2, and it gives you the chance to expand your answers and to show your vocabulary and the range of your grammar, and that is about 4 to 5 minutes. The 4 criteria that you are graded on: fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. So fluency, how well can you speak? Can you keep on going? Can you link ideas? Vocabulary, they're looking for accuracy of vocabulary, but also looking for the range of vocabulary. Do you use very basic language, or can you give more interesting vocabulary as well? Grammar is the same. They're looking for accuracy, but they're also looking for range. And pronunciation, so how well do you, how clearly do you speak? And which of these 4 is more important? None of them. They are all equally important. So you need to focus on all of them at some point. So continuing with your preparation, you know how the exam works. So what to do next? Well, the best thing probably is to build your vocabulary around the most commonly used IELTS topics. So can you think of, if you've done the exam before, some of the topics that you have been given, or what topics do you think might be common topics? So again, put these answers in chat. So yes, we've got weather. They do ask about weather. It is a British exam after all. Hometown, yes. Education, science, global problems, all good, yeah. Friendships, Environment is a common one, yes. Neighborhood, yes, that could be in section 1. Relationships, technology, yes, all of these things. Animals, yes, sometimes. We've even had one which was a part 1 topic that was bicycles, and that was a little bit difficult to ask questions about. I got some funny looks from students, but yes. So it could be, as you can see from the chat, if you're looking at the chat here, you can see it's a wide range of subjects. Now, one thing that you can do is look up online to see, if you Google common IELTS topics, it will come up. And at the end of this, I will give you some a couple of websites that might help you with this. So what do you do with this vocabulary? So I would suggest that you get a list of topics that you think could be useful, that might come up, and you work on a word list for each topic. Now, this sounds like a lot of work, and I know a lot of people will be thinking, oh, do we really have to? It's the advice that I would give. It's, you know, having the vocabulary at your fingertips is a very important skill in the exam, because then you are not searching for words if they are already there. And you also know, as we saw, the topics are very varied. So having a range of vocabulary is very important. And remember, with your vocabulary, you need to use a range and accuracy. So if you're using very low level vocabulary, then, and it's all accurate, then it's okay, but you will get a much higher score for attempting more difficult vocabulary, even if it's not always 100% right. So remember that range is very important. So for example, if I wanted to, if I was talking about a holiday, if I asked you to describe a holiday and you wanted to say that it was very good, instead of using very good, which is a kind of a basic phrase, you could say it's excellent, marvelous, wonderful, fabulous, awesome, fantastic. And all of these things will, all of these words will improve your range and will make the examiner think, ah, okay, this person has a little bit more than the basics, which obviously is what you want. Once you have your word lists, you then need to think of ideas to talk about for each of these topics. So make notes of the ideas that you have. Just opening the chat, another thing. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Somebody has been watching movies, I think. Yes, you could try it in an exam, but it might be a little bit of a tongue twister as well, I think. So once you have ideas for your topic, think about the ideas that are going to be, what might they ask you? Excuse me. So make notes. What questions could be asked about that topic, and how would you answer those questions? Now, it would be almost a miracle if you thought of the exact question that you're going to be asked. But if you're thinking about the right topic, then you've got the vocabulary, it's working in your brain. And when you come to the exam and they have the same topic, you will have something to talk about. So try it. It really does work. And making notes gives you something to look back on. This is not a one-time deal. You need to be practicing regularly. We're still in the preparation section. What do we do next? Well, practice, practice, and practice. The more preparation you do before the exam, the more comfortable you will feel in the exam, the more confidence you will feel when you get in there. So it's really important to practice as much as you can. I can see a raised hand. Excuse me, let me just see. Okay, if you have any questions, I will try and answer them at the end. So keep it in your mind and we will talk about them later, okay? So, how to practice? Well, you've already looked at your vocabulary. You've already thought of some ideas of questions that could come up in the exam. So then it would be useful to time yourself. Now here, if you can see on the screen, I have put 2 minutes. This obviously is for part 2. And it's very important to talk for a full 2 minutes in part 2. So it's really good idea to time yourself. If you're thinking about it now, 2 minutes, well, that doesn't sound so long. But when you're in exam conditions and you're feeling stressed or nervous, 2 minutes can feel like a lifetime. So it's really important to record yourself speaking, to time yourself. Use your phone or iPad or whatever you have to record yourself. Now, this is useful because you can listen back and listen to your mistakes. So you listen for that. Remember, go back to the 4 criteria. Just letting one more person in. So go back to your 4 criteria and listen for each of these things. So listen for your fluency. Listen for, did you link your ideas well? Did you have lots of silences, lots of and type sounds? If you did, that's something you need to work on. Listen to your vocabulary. Listen to the range of the vocabulary that you used. Think about, okay, so I used this word here. What word could I have used instead? But also listen for the accuracy. Where did I make mistakes? And also think about your grammar. What mistakes did you make in grammar? And listen for your pronunciation. Do you have any words that didn't come out quite right? If so, practice it. Do you find that you're making one noise, one sound that is not very clear? Practice that one. So practice and practice and practice. And now if you have a brother or a sister, or if you have, if you have a friend who is already good at English, of course, you can use them to practice on as well. You know, ask them for help and perhaps they will be, you can help them back in return. So you have your words, you have the ideas of what the topics might be, practice, practice, and practice. So on the exam day, what is it important to do? Well, the most important thing probably is to make yourself comfortable. Now, what can you do on the exam day to help yourself be comfortable, do you think? Put some ideas in the chat box. Gulnaz, practice makes perfect. Yes, it very much does. Ride a bike. Okay. Eat chocolate. That would be my response, yes. Have a good breakfast. Excellent. Go to the bathroom. Okay. Run. I'm not sure about that one. Don't exhaust yourself on the day of the exam. Sleep. Meditation. Good. Okay. So we've got a lot of deep breaths. Lucky socks. Okay. I have lucky earrings, but not lucky socks. Okay, so the ideas that I've come up with. Get a good night's sleep. Now, this is one that a few people have said, and this is very important, of course. Now, a lot of people before an exam day will spend the night before cramming information into their heads. For any exam, this is not a good idea. You need a good night's sleep because you need to be awake and ready in the morning. You need to be well rested. Eat a healthy breakfast. Yes. Don't skip breakfast because you are nervous. You need to have something, not heavy, but make sure that you have something for breakfast because you will feel much more comfortable going into the exam that way. Wear something comfortable. Now, I often see people coming into exams and they're in a business suit or, you know, something equivalent. This is not a business interview, a job interview. This is an exam and you can, you know, basically wear whatever you like. So make sure that you are comfortable. Don't wear something tight or something that is going to make you feel uncomfortable. And get to the exam center in plenty of time. Now, this is a common problem that a lot of people have. They leave it too late and they get there at the last minute. And that's never a good idea. It makes you feel like you are panicking, and you will also, if you are late, there may be no exam for you. So please make sure that you get to the exam in plenty of time. Okay, so what to do during the exam? We have some do's and don'ts. Be open and friendly. The examiner is, you know, they're there to examine you, but they're also going to be, hopefully, nice and friendly to you. So be, you know, when you walk into the room, say hello, ask how are you, that kind of thing. If you are friendly, then it shows that you have a little bit of confidence. Speak as much as you can. Now, this is really, really important in IELTS. The examiner wants to see what you can do. So you need to just keep on talking. If they interrupt you, that's a good thing. It means that you have spoken enough and that, you know, you can stop and wait for the next question. If an examiner is looking at you just sort of kind of waiting, or even sometimes they do this, then it means keep going, because you need to give more of yourself. So speak as much as you can. Answer all questions that are asked to you, even the crazy ones. So I mentioned at the beginning that we had once a topic that was bicycles, and I asked this question to a candidate, and he looked at me like I had just asked him something very strange. So even if you think the question is a little bit strange, please try and answer it. You will also find sometimes that an examiner will ask you a question that you have just answered. That's because we have to follow a script. So sometimes it will happen that you've answered a question that is actually coming up, and that's okay. It's not a problem for you. It just means that you might need to repeat your information. But you could say something like, as I just mentioned, and then you can repeat what you said before. If you need to, ask an examiner to repeat the question. Now, they probably will, in most of the exam, they are not allowed to reformulate the question, to say it in a different way, especially in section 1. But if you need it to be repeated, that's fine. It will not affect your exam score, because this is a speaking exam, not the listening exam. And check your speed. I know when you're uncomfortable or when you're feeling nervous, people tend to speak very fast. Try to slow down a little bit. The reason for this is obviously if you're speaking too quickly, your fluency will not be great. We will not be able to understand you. But also, 2 minutes is even longer when you're speaking very fast. You have to think of a lot more things to say in that case. So take your speed and just slow it down a little bit. However, don't be too slow at the other hand. If you are speaking very slowly, it sounds unnatural, and the examiner will think you are trying to search for words. Listen to the whole question, not just one word of it. So for example, if you hear the question, what kind of weather, and the question is not finished yet, and you start talking about weather, that's okay. But perhaps the end of the question was, what kind of weather do you not enjoy? And then you start, because you heard one word, weather, and you start, well, I love hot weather and I go to the beach when it's hot. So please listen to the whole question, not just the one word. Okay, more do's for you. In part 2, it's a good idea to introduce your topic. Of course, the examiner knows what the topic is already because they gave it to you. But if you introduce your topic, it gives you a couple of seconds just to settle yourself into your 2 minutes of speaking. So it's a really good idea just to say, today I'm going to be talking about whatever it will be. Try to speak, if at all possible, for the full 2 minutes. Now, if you've done the exam, you know that the examiner says you will speak for 1 to 2 minutes. We don't really mean that. We mean 2 minutes. So if you finish at only 1 minute, that will not really be enough to give you a good score. To speak for the full 2 minutes means that you are giving a lot more information for the examiner to mark you on. So really important to try and speak for that full 2 minutes. The prompts that you are given the booklet or the card, and there are some questions on there. You do not have to use those prompts. If you have something else to talk about related to that topic, you don't have to use them. You certainly don't have to use every one of them, but they are there to help you. So they're there to give you ideas, and they're there in case you lose the track of thought and you want to get back onto it, then have another quick look. However, don't read out the prompts because that's not, just let that person in, that's not going to help. So lengthen by adding more detail. This means you can talk more about a subject. If they ask you to talk about your favorite car, then you can talk about your favorite car. You get to the end, you've still got more time. You can add another car. Oh, another favorite car of mine is, and keep talking. As long as you're within the same topic, you'll be okay. Use the paper and pencil. They're there for you to make notes. Again, if you lose your train of thought, you can look back at your notes and it will be there for you. Part 3, have opinions. Part 3 is, as I said before, much more extensive. They want you to answer questions and to give your opinions. Now, we're not marking you on your opinions, but we are marking you on how you can express those opinions. Now, a couple of don'ts. Don't ask for a different topic in part 2 or a different question. We cannot give you it. We're not allowed to give it to you. So even if you don't like it, unfortunately, that's the one you've got to talk about. Don't try to memorize the answers in advance. The examiner will recognize this and you will certainly lose marks or you may be disqualified. Try not to use Russian and Kazakh words unless you're talking about something where there is no suitable English translation. For example, if you're talking about your favorite food and it has a Kazakh name, of course you can use that, but you will need to talk about, describe what it is. Watch out for lots of fillers, your and type sounds, and never give yes, no, or one-word answers. This is not enough. Even if the question was a yes-no question, you need to extend it. Okay, so that's for speaking. Let's move on to the listening now. Again, preparation. What is the structure of the listening exam? Now, I'm going to give you a very short time because we don't have much time left. Yeah, a couple of people have given us some names that might come up in Kazakh or Russian, yes. 4 parts, 4 sections, yes. So, in the listening exam, we have these questions. How long is it? How many parts are there? Some of you were saying 4 already. Are spelling and grammar important? And what score do I need to get a band 6.5? So how long is it? Well, it's 40 minutes. So you've got 30 minutes for the audio and 10 minutes for transferring your answers at the end. How many parts are there? You got this one right. There are 4 parts. 2 parts at the beginning are more social type audio, and the second 2, 3, and the 3 and 4 parts are more academic. Are spelling and grammar important? Yes. If you have the spelling wrong, even if the word is right, you will lose points, and the same for grammar. What score do I need? So there are 4 parts, 10 questions for each part, so it's out of 40 in total. And here you can see the range of what you need. So for example, to get a 6.5, you will need to get 27 up to 29 out of 40. Now that gives you quite a lot of chances to make a mistake or to not hear something. So there's no need to panic. Now these are score ranges. It's not the same in every exam. It depends on the quality of the audios, how difficult they may be. So preparation, build your listening skills. So what do you think are good ways of building your listening skills? Can you put a couple of ideas in the chat box? Imagine dragons. Watch movies, yes. BBC News is a good idea. YouTube, absolutely. Films. Podcasts, absolutely. Politicians, not sure about that one. That might put you to sleep. But yes, lots of good ideas. Watch Friends, watch series. Okay, all good ideas. So let's think. So first you need to work on your general listening. Of course, it's important to do practice tests for IELTS, but work on your general listening as well. The practice tests will very much help you know what kind of questions to look out for, but your general listening needs to be improved. Now, you've all got your own ideas, and here are some of mine. So yes, I thought about podcasts too. TED Talks are particularly important for the sections 3 and 4 because they are academic. So particularly section 4, which is like a lecture style. Radio, TV news, documentaries, audiobooks. If it's the TV or TED Talks, please try not to have the subtitles on, but they're there to help you if you want to. And use lots of IELTS practice tests. Get used to the type of questions, what kinds of answers will be expected. The more practice tests you do, the more you will get to understand what it is they're looking for. And there are many, many, many free online resources. So you don't need to spend a lot of money on this. You can go online and get free resources. Again, I will show you a couple of those at the end. Get to know all the different question types. Now, we don't have time to look at those today, but you can see there are 6 different types, and you need to practice all 6 of them and have a strategy for answering each type. Again, there are lots of resources online or in books to help you going through each of the different types. And we go to practice. Reading questions. So you need to practice reading the instructions very carefully. They're quite complicated. It's often things like give your answer in no more than 3 words plus a number. So make sure you read your instructions carefully and practice. Listen to a range of accents and voices. So a lot of them are British or Australian accents because that's where the exams are made. But there are other, American or Canadian and other foreign accents too. So make sure in your listening, you're listening to a range of those accents. Also a range of voices, because in a couple of them, there will be more than one. So there may be up to 4 voices in some of the sections, and it's important that you can differentiate between. Multitasking, you need to practice being able to read and listen and write all at once, because this is what is needed in your exam. And you need to practice listening for paraphrases. With IELTS, they most often use paraphrasing rather than using the direct word in the question in the audio. So you need to be able to work out what is a paraphrase for this. You need to practice completing the answer sheet, and you can download these from the IELTS website. So if you go to IELTS.org, you can download for listening and for reading and for writing as well. So during the exam, remember that the recording is played only once. Don't wait for it to come again. Now, I've put no example before part 1. Now, previously, until this year, earlier this year, there was an example played before part 1, but now there is not. Questions are in order, and when reading questions, try to work out what kind of information you need. Now, I'm racing through these because we don't have much time. Remember that answers don't come at regular intervals. I'm going to jump through. Now this will be on our website, so you can see the things that I am rushing through right now. And the last thing I want to show you is some recommended resources. Now next week, we have writing and reading, and you can see here, this is our website where all of our webinars are kept. And we've rushed rather through it, but thank you for watching and good luck with your IELTS.